All right. Hi, guys. My name is Ceci, and today I'm sitting here with David, the awesome David from the Remedy Project, co-director, co-founder, my supervisor, my team mate, and we're here. We're going to do a little interview, have a little chat today.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Ceci, for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Okay.
All right, David. So I have a couple questions. It's for my weekly reflection. So I do these every week. They're usually due Sunday. But this week I wanted to make a video because it said to interview your supervisor. And I feel like that's our vibe, is to do videos.
Okay. I'm for that.
So
I'm all about the videos.
I feel like that's our vibe. So I have a couple questions. So I want to know a little bit about, I've told, my fellowship group about the Remedy Project. They know what we do. They know what we're about, kind of the work we do, like what remedies are.
Mm-hmm.
So the question this week was, what makes work effective? And my question for you is, I'm curious about sort of your background experiences and how have these made you effective professionally, and how is this how do you think your background has contributed to where you are now?
Okay. Personally, I have been, let's say, brought up and or trained in my space as an electrician in order to be effective in that field to communicate well.
Oh, wow.
So communication is big, and I think overall, as a life experience, I believe that communication is a big deal, right? It's a big thing. And of course, as a part of communicating, effective listening, paying attention to what folks say, and addressing that, I think it's very, very important. Along with that, being not being rude and or condescending and or mean and or nasty in
Right.
your communications. I think it's very, very powerful and helps your work being effective. And then having good teammates or good folks to work with who kind of like get that and or understand it, or even if they have not been like that before, they see what it is you're about and what it is and how you operate, and they reciprocate, right? They come back like that. And so that's one of the wonderful things that I've had experience with at the Remedy Project, is that the students usually give off the same vibe or come back with the same vibe with communications, right? So they kind of like always usually shy and I don't know, this dude, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
once we start communicating and say, okay, no, dude, he's not too bad after all. And then
Yeah.
there's an effective communication from then on, right? So these things are very important. But one of the major things with me specifically that makes me very effective and or communicating in light of your question when it comes to experience is the fact that I was in prison with people of from every spectrum of life, from the very wealthy to the very mean or very nasty to the very poor, drug addicts, the mentally ill. I was there with everybody. And because of who I am generally as a person who does not necessarily shy away from attempting to communicate or communicating from anyone or shutting people out because of who they are or what they're suffering or going through. I communicated with everybody and I got really good at it. So there is no space that you can't put me in where I won't be able to communicate with the individuals.
Wow.
I'm just, it's a hidden talent of mine. Look, you put me amongst you youth all the time. I work with you guys, and I communicate with you very well.
Very well, yeah.
Right?
You tell me to communicate, right?
So, that's what I'm saying, because they're very young, even in the prison. I communicate with them very well.
Right.
It doesn't matter what space. I
Yeah.
think effective communication, you master the art of communicating, I think
that's awesome.
you're gonna hit it out the park all the time.
I like how you started with, well, I was trained as an electrician, right?
Yes.
And do you think that made you like I don't know, I feel like also you're just a friendly person.
Yes.
But do you think that helped you with people skills, and then it grew a lot more in prison because you were exposed to lots of different types of people?
So you're trained, when you're going into service, when you're in the business of service, you serve others.
Yeah.
You have to adapt a professionality and a need to communicate effectively in order to continue doing business with people. Because if you go to a person, they hire you to do a job and you're nasty and don't mean to them, they probably would not call you for the next one, and they probably won't give you any references.
Right.
But because you are good to them and you're respectful and you're kind and you do your job,
right?
Then they're gonna call you back. They're gonna say, "Hey, let me hire that guy again," or they're gonna refer, right? And so that there was very important. But what I quickly realized, and especially in prison, is that didn't only fit for the job. It really works for all manners of life. Right. And so you won't believe how many times people would be in conflict. It would be either family wise or religiously or whatever. Yeah. And there's two people just going at each other, not understanding each other, and they're in this feud, and I'll be sitting there or passing by or whatever, and I would end the conflict like that. And so, oh, what are you saying? Okay, and your point is? Okay, and then I would just say, okay, what he is saying is da-da-da-da-da-da. And they'd be like, oh, okay. And I say, what he is saying is da-da-da-da-da. And they'd be like, oh, okay. So
you're like a translator.
Yeah,
a peacekeeper translator.
Everybody's speaking English, but I'm translating because they're not listening to each other. But it's because of how I bring it and how I present it. Right, and a lot of times, sincerity and honesty, genuine. Yeah. When you are genuine and you're not, people don't perceive that you have any biases or think because that's another thing, right? Some people gravitate to me. They kind of see that I'm genuine and I'm real, and I'm not coming with any BS. So they I listen to this dude, and so they won't listen to the other person, but they listen to me, and I'm able to confer, and then okay, and next thing you know, everybody's one happy. Exactly. One happy family moving forward. So so communication is big.
That's what we see on the phone all the time when people call and they're super worried and concerned, and we get a lot of calls where people are freaking out about a remedy they just turned in, or something that's happening to them that's obviously very urgent and scary. But then, the way you communicate with them is hey, no, listen to me, trust me, here's what you need to do. Very level-headed, very practical. So
right. And even sometimes you see me push back against their understanding. Hey, listen,
you're wrong.
You're wrong. Right?
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
And they get it. And so it's that communication. Totally. And like I said, I know how to communicate with them. I know how to respect their urgency. I know how to respect the sense of importance and urgency and stuff that they have, but at the same time say, hey, it's not as bad as you think it is. Or it's not as it's not as mandatory as you would like it to be. Right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
And explain that why. Right. That's another thing. Not shutting people down and not caring enough to give them a reason why you're shutting them down, I think is bad communication. I think you should. I think when you're telling someone no, you should be willing sometimes to tell them why no, or explain to them why no. And I think they would respect you more and have more respect for you and what you say, and trust you more in what you do, because you believe that they were worthy enough for you to tell them why no. Yeah. And not just no, get away from it.
Definitely. Right? I think especially for people who are incarcerated, who are left out of the decisions that are made for them. Like, you know, like they're like kept in the dark, kept out of the loop. Like, you know, they want to know, like they deserve to know. They have the right. So it makes sense. I want to transition, talk a little bit about, you brought this up, but like, I think it goes in the same hand in hand with communication, but we talk a lot about mentorship. And for example, Gary Opala, who is David's mentor while he's in prison, taught him how to write remedies, write effective remedies. You know, he's a figure who we know here, right, at the Remedy Project. And I'm curious about if you could talk about the role mentorship plays in making the Remedy Project so effective. And that's through, like, you know, teamwork, collaboration, especially, I think, since the Remedy Project is unique in that it's, you know, student run, student volunteers working with, I mean, the vision is to hire a lot more formerly incarcerated people.
Yeah.
So, like, sort of bridging that communication between, like, students and, like, learning about the experiences from formerly incarcerated people.
Okay. Well, yeah. So mentorship, and let's address it from the Opala's side of things first, was very important for me because there were very little or very few folks in prison who actually know and understand the full concept of what's really going on, right? As with the fight to survive within prison. There's a lot of people in prison who believe, who just understand that they did something wrong and they were sent there as punishment and they're being overly punished. And that's about it. They don't understand that they are a modern day slave in a system that's designed to make money off of them, to hold them as stock and charge the taxpayer for money for them over a period of time. Right? They don't get that. And then not only that, the system itself does not teach you or help you advocate on your behalf. It's designed to actually suppress you from doing that. Even though they have the great means and ways of doing it, they don't teach you that and they suppress it. They don't want you using it, right? And so you need more folks like Gary Opala in the system or ways of spreading the word or educating the masses that, you know, you need to learn how to advocate for yourself, and this is the way, and you can't be afraid of the system, and or sometimes, you know, you have to stand up and be bold and know your rights and push through it. And there's some people who do that, but doing it effectively, doing it properly is important. And Gary was able to make me see that and understand that really early on, and then I was able to, when I was doing and helping people over all that time for myself, I had to make sure that people understood that. The reason why I'm so good, the reason why what I do is so effective is because I'm focusing on doing it properly, right? And so that was that. Now, when we get outside of the prison context, and we're talking about within the Remedy Project, students are not most of our students were not incarcerated, right? You have no experience with the prison system, and you're reading all these emails and letters you're getting, and folks are telling you about being in the shoe and not going to the yard, and they want to go to how they say, you know what I'm talking about. What they say? To the yard. They don't want to go to a specific yard. What's the term that they use now? So the guys would say, the guys who want to be transferred because they don't want to go to
the active yard.
The active
yard.
Right. So what does that mean, right? The active
There's
yard.
so much jargon.
Right.
What's
There's
really,
a lot of
what
prison
does this
jargon,
mean?
right?
Yes.
And so the mentors for the organization, this is the role that they're supposed to play. Their role, one of their primary roles, is to bridge the gap between you and our members in the Remedy Project who are incarcerated, so that you guys understand what they're talking about and know what it is what it is they actually need, so that you can then effectively put that down in layman terms, in good language, lay out the facts nice and neat and clean so that anybody who reads it can understand it. And then, send it back to the prison, so that they can then submit it to advocate on their behalf, right? So that's one of the primary reasons for mentors. So it's not so bridging the gap in the communication, the understanding, and then helping and guiding with the arguments or the because the mentors that we're going to bring on would have had experience with challenging the system, and they're familiar with remedies and so on and so forth. To a certain extent, where they're going to be able to help you guys get their whole process done and on time and make sure everything runs smooth. So that's why mentors are very, very important to our organization and working with us. Right. And, as a team, we're a badass team.
And we're a badass team.
So it works. So the concept works, right? Yeah, because today you do remedies just as good as I do. So.
But I learned, it took me time. I had to learn, a lot of questions. And a lot of waiting until I watched the training videos, and you're like, oh, you got to watch the training videos, and you know the answer. So
and then you did, and then your level of writing just sky. I can't. When I look at your remedies, I'm like, God damn, there's nothing here for me to do. She's not even any work for me. She's doing all the work for herself, right? So it's pretty good.
Yeah. It's a team.
Yeah, it's a great team.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions for you. What questions? I would say.
Or any final comments, let's say.
No, let me ask a question first.
Sure.
Let me ask a question first. Sure. So, what we are doing today, what you're experiencing today, what you have learned, and what you're doing on behalf of incarcerated folks, you understand now how important that is and how big of a deal it is that you're doing it. When you first heard of the Remedy Project and what it is we do, what you know today versus what you thought you were getting into back then, how big or vast is the difference?
Is a difference?
Yeah, in that.
It's funny because now my day-to-day perception is definitely so different from what I thought it was going to be in the beginning. Because I think that the way I imagined the work and actually what a remedy looks like it was really hard for me to envision that, and even to put myself in the place where I'm understanding what's going on in the prison system. My perception of that was entirely different. And I think that that's the most jarring difference between what I thought and how it is now. It's more grounded in reality, However, I do think that when I first saw I remember coming to the first chapter meeting at Columbia in the fall. And it was you did the presentation with Victoria and the other chapter leads, and you and Anna were there, and I remember watching that presentation and feeling so excited, and I was so inspired, and I was I need to join this organization. I need to do whatever I can to be a part of this organization. And that's exactly the same feeling I left with on the first day of our intern orientation for this summer. And I was I felt again the same exact feeling. I was so excited. I was I'm so glad to be part of this project, and it felt
And now knowing the impact that you make and see the work that you get to do.
It makes it so rewarding. Does it
take it to another level, or is or you stepped into it on the one cloud?
I think, I think as I've gotten better at writing remedies and also had seen the results of success of writing remedies, I get more excited to write remedies. I want to make each one better than the last one. Okay.
All right. Yeah. But one of the important messages that we need to send is that as exciting and as great as remedy writing is, right, doing the other parts, right? So you're a big part of the office work, right?
Yes.
Which is very, very important. We could write remedies all day, but if we don't know how to get them out,
that's what makes it effective,
right?
That's what makes it effective, right? We need the ARC team, which is Administrative Remedy Coordination Team,
Yes.
to be working smoothly,
Yes.
to have communication
Yeah.
between follow-up, to make sure people are actually getting what they need,
Yes.
and, being in the office to send them out in a timely way,
Right? And
Yeah,
then on
that's
top
true.
of that, advocating for folks on the outside, the campaigns team. All of these things are important because we see how much, even with what we do now, staff are still trying to suppress and hinder, the Remedy Project, and folks who are using us, they're trying to come between that.
Yeah.
But so that's where the public awareness comes in, exposing it to the public and so on. That pushes back against that heavily.
Yeah.
So we need more folks, and we need to function better over in that area too.
1,000%.
So these are areas that we need to work on, and we continue to work on. We got a good campaign team working this out.
I'm excited.
Yeah. All right, so we're doing a great job. Yeah, right. And that was my final. I think we can close it with that.
I think we could close with that too. That was great.
All right.
All right. Thanks, David.